Israeli army is considered one of the top 10 armies in the world. So you compare it with Russian army, you compare it with American army. You cannot compare it with a group like Hamas. Hamas equipment is mainly handmade. Gaza is considered one of the most populated areas in the world because there are more than 2.04 million people living in a very limited area. And this area has more than 50 kilometers borders with Israeli occupied territory. On the other hand, there are 11 kilometers borders with Egypt. And from both sides, it's partially sieged the entire year. They allow movement of workers inside the Green Belt, or what's called Green Belt, which is the controlled by Israel areas, and they allow traveling for the Palestinians through the borders with Egypt, conditional with permissions from both Egyptian authorities and Israeli authorities. This is the situation in normal days. In war days, it's totally different. Since 2006, which is the date Hamas controlled the Gaza Strip and claimed that because of their winning of the election, they have the authority to keep the prime ministership and the government inside Gaza after their fight with Fatah group in West Bank. The party which is running the show in Gaza is Hamas. There are two wings of Hamas, one political, which is a group of officials, some of them are ministers, they are running health, education, other services in Gaza. The other group is the military wing, which is known as Qassam wing. The fact that West Bank government, which is led by Mahmoud Abbas, the current president of Palestinian Authority, does not make neither political noise nor military action against the Israelis, make more responsibility on the other Palestinian parties. One of them is Hamas, which claims that rule and starts to act on their own. Now, what we need to understand is also that Hamas has its own political agenda, that they need to show that we are not silent forever, we are not accepting this siege against around Gaza forever. Hamas worked on developing their weapons or military equipment to attack so they can reach a point of negotiation on better terms. What will be the terms of the next phase of this issue? Are they allowed to travel more freely? Are they allowed to import directly the products they need? Are they allowed to gain control over more a little bit area? There is no comparison between the equipments that Hamas has as military equipment and what Israel has. But what makes Hamas have some edge in winning tactical situations from time to time is the surprise. They take the Israeli soldiers by surprise. They use a developed weaponry that was not used in the previous war, which makes again a surprise for the Israeli soldiers. And they try to develop their defense mechanisms. So Hamas have a lot of variety of rockets, missiles that can be used against Israelis. But those rockets do not reach 70 to 80% of them do not reach the destination because of the dome, the Iron Dome, which Israeli use as a defense system, and because these rockets are technically handmade. It's not made in factories of military production. It's made in small equipment labs, which Hamas has maybe underground or in some areas in Gaza to produce such rockets. So not all of them are the same accuracy, not all of them have the same capacity or damaging capacity when it reaches the destination, if it reaches the destination. On the other hand, you have the Israeli army, which is equipped with the latest weapons from America. Sometimes even at the same time American army uses the weapon, Israeli army uses the weapon. We are talking about drones, we are talking about aircrafts, we are talking about tanks, we are talking about sniping guns. Every kind of equipment is available for the Israeli army. Compare equipment to equipment, Israeli army is considered one of the top 10 armies in the world. So you compare it with Russian army, you compare it with American army. You cannot compare it with a group like Hamas. Hamas equipment is mainly handmade, and it got some expertise from the maybe people who gave some you can say individual opinion to help them. They have called one of their new airplane or drones Zawiri, who have been an engineer from Tunisia, came to Gaza to help them develop their drone program. So you are talking about individuals volunteering, helping them because they believe in the Palestinian cause or they believe in this kind of fighting against Israel. The situation in Palestine in general is divided into two areas, as we explained. West Bank, it's near normal in terms of services. There is a regular provide of electricity, water, etc., etc. But there are a lot of checkposts which Israeli soldiers use it as a projection of power. So they make the Palestinians suffer every day, 2 hours waiting on this checkpost, 2 hours waiting on that checkpost, which makes the life difficult, beside the difficulty of doing business. But if we talk about Gaza Strip is under siege for the last more than 12-14 years. It started in 2006 and still now it's up and down in the restrictions, but it is overall under siege. What does that mean? You have 2 million people living in a very limited area, and they don't have enough water, they don't have enough electricity, they don't have enough education or health services, they don't have structural economy. They have a little, some services, some products which are produced to be consumed in the same Gaza Strip. Less than 10% of their products can be exported to outside. Beside all that, you have continuous pressure on Gaza Strip by cutting the water from time to time, by cutting the electricity from time to time. There is a huge issue of processing the waste, all types of waste, because you have, as we said, a huge population living in limited area. Where will you send this waste? The international community, some are giving financial aid, some are giving rebuilding of the damaged areas, but not much more than that. The rest is still in the hands of the Israeli authorities, who do not only control the military situation, they control economic situation, they control exports, imports, access of services, also traveling, who travel, who doesn't travel. They control all of that. The world, it's more of the social connection that helps people survive. So none of the businesses will be running during the war, which means either you will depend on your savings or you will depend on the family connections who have some business which is working, or you will take some services or some products on a loan from the grocery shop or from this or from that. Beside that, the government in Gaza might distribute some products or goods for the daily survival of families. Some internal or international aid organization or charity organization will distribute some. But we have to also highlight the fact that the entire strip is under siege. This depends on what Hamas prepared before the attack. You know, when you attack, you have to prepare for the second round of conflict. What we expect that Hamas is ready to sustain with the Palestinian people in Gaza for at least 1 or 2 months. Because we have seen in the past, there have been 6 wars by Israelis against Gaza Strip and Hamas. The longest was for 51 days. And the Strip survived, Hamas survived, and they continued their activity as usual after a while. So we expect they have prepared at least for 2 months to sustain. But those 2 months will not be easy, because you have people who will go to hospitals, they will suffer in the hospitals because there is no enough electricity. They will go to education, they will face the same thing. There are local generators, there are local sources. Maybe they have saved some fuel to sustain their electric generation, but we do not expect that this will run for a very long time, hardly 2 or 3 months. But in 2 or 3 months, what I believe Hamas, depending on that, the Israeli authorities cannot run a war for a very long time because their own economy as a state will be suffering. Their currency and their stock exchange have lost in the last 3 days more than $20 billion, which means they will be calculating how many days this will go for. What are the side effects of this? Israel will try to prove that they have destroyed the infrastructure of the Hamas group inside Gaza and claim some kind of victory in front of the Israeli public opinion. Defense Minister of Israel yesterday said that we are dealing with human animals. He doesn't even consider Palestinians in Gaza humans anymore. So he is ready to kill as many as possible. On the other side, Hamas is saying that this is our war and we are here to liberate our land and we will not spare anything to sacrifice. So we are ready to do whatever needed. So we are talking about new terms and conditions, and this means there will be continuous status of war. Main battles will be for 1 month or 2 months. After that, it will continue for at least 6 months more.
Thank you for watching the full video. आप में से बहुत से ऐसे लोग हैं जिन्होंने शायद हमारा YouTube चैनल सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया. So if you want to support independent journalism and watch more meaningful content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.